What's up, my Century Unit? It's the Centuryman here, so back again with another classic SummerSlam pay-per-view review. So I'm going to review one more SummerSlam before the month is out. So today I'm reviewing SummerSlam 2002 at the Nassau Coliseum in Long Island, New York on the 25th of August 2002. The attendance of the show was 14,797. SummerSlam 02 received about 540,000 pay-per-view buys. A slight downgrade than the 2001 SummerSlam show that was in the middle of the Invasion storyline. It was the final SummerSlam under the WWF name. I think the main event of that show was The Rock versus Booker T for the WCW World Heavyweight Championship. I think at that same show you had, Austin Angle for the WWF title. You had RVD versus Jeff Hardy in a ladder match for the Hardcore title. You had Undertaker and Kane squashing DDP and Kanyon in a steel cage match. I think that was a unification match, trying to unify both the WWF and WCW. No, I think it's for the WCW tag team titles. I'm not too sure. SummerSlam 2001 received about 570,000 pay-per-view buys. It's not bad. It's just dropped off about 1 or 2%. I think today, this weekend, marks the 20th anniversary of this SummerSlam. For many wrestling fans, this show was considered one of the best SummerSlams of all time. You had the debut of Rey Mysterio. We'll get to Rey's first pay-per-view match shortly. You had the comeback match of the Heartbreak Kid Shawn Michaels. We'll get to Shawn's first match in 4 years later on in this review. And, the coronation of Brock Lesnar in the main event scene. We'll get to Brock's match also later on in this review. And this whole, greatest SummerSlam of all time, I'll get to that in my final rating of this pay-per-view review at the end of this review. Sorry. Anyway, so this SummerSlam, this is the first SummerSlam under the WWE name because they changed their name early that year I think it was in May. This is the first SummerSlam since the formation of the first brand split. That started in March of 2002. The commentators for the show, from Raw we got JR and the King. On SmackDown you got Michael Cole and Taz. So the first match to kick off SummerSlam 2002, we got Kurt Angle versus Rey Mysterio, making his pay-per-view debut. He debuted with the company on SmackDown. I think it was the 25th of July's episode of SmackDown. He fought against Chavo Guerrero. I think he beat Kurt Angle in a tag team match leading up to their match on this show. This is Rey's first pay-per-view match on a mainstream wrestling company since the days of WCW went out of business the previous year in 2001. First match with the mask, because in WCW's final run, he wasn't wearing the mask. It was really bad for him. He looks like a toddler. Yeah, the best choice for him, business decision for him, is putting his mask back on when he was in WWE. His mask was money making. Anyway, the match between Angle and Rey, really good. It's a barn burner. It really was really good. Rey's known for the high flying stuff. Angle's more of the technical style. He's the Olympic gold medalist. One spot in this match, I think the referee, Rey was going for like a move, did a move off the top rope, probably a springboard plancha, I don't know. He's trying to go for a move off the top rope. The referee, I think it was Jimmy Calderas, trying to stop them. Rey kind of leaped over Calderas and did like this springboard, I think it was a springboard plancha or something, onto Kurt Angle. That was cool. You got that like holy shit chance. This was really good. It's fast paced, boom boom bam. In the end, Rey was going for, Angle kicked out of Rey Mysterio's 619 and the West Coast Pop. I think Rey was going for like a hurricanrana off the top rope. Angle counted into a ankle lock. Rey tapped out and Angle scored the victory. It's a very shame that Rey never got his first pay-per-view match since he debuted. I think I get with Angle. I think Angle beat Edge at Backlash, but he lost back-to-back pay-per-view matches. He lost to Edge. I think he lost to Edge in the Judgment Day. He lost the triple threat match. Don't know. It's been a long time since I reviewed Judgment Day. Not Judgment Day. King of the Ring '02. I'm not too sure he had a match there. I can't remember. Lost count, but it's very odd that Ray lost his first match. I'd rather have Ray got the victory. It doesn't really hurt Angle. You can tell like Angle and Ray are one of the SmackDown 6. We'll get to more of that later on. But yeah, it was a good match to kick off the pay-per-view. I really enjoy it. So the next match we got Ric Flair versus Chris Jericho. On the go-home show to Raw, you had Jericho attack Ric Flair backstage. A backstage interview with what's his name? Jonathan Coachman. This is before he ended up becoming a character. You know, call him the Coach. That was in the latter stages of the Ruthless Aggression era, because this show is the first SummerSlam in the Ruthless Aggression era. Anyway, so yeah, Jericho attacked Flair, and then later on that go home show to Raw, you know, Jericho performed a song with his band Fozzy. Flair interfered, attacked Jericho during the performance, so later up this match from the show. I think the match was good. It's a good follow up to the Kurt and Ray match, because you know, like I said, it's fast paced stuff I'm trying to say, but this match was still good. You know, Flair was kind of past his prime. You know, he's kind of like in his 50s. Jericho was about 30s. I think it was 32 or 31. He was in his 30s. He was kind of like Flair is about 20 years older than Jericho, but I think Jericho carried him to a good match. In the end, it's between Jericho and the referee Charles Robinson. Like Jericho locked in the figure 4 leg lock. Flair's move. And then, you know, Flair grabbed the ropes before Flair tapped out. Jericho thought he won. He had an argument with him and Charles Robinson. He says, you know, Jericho shouts like he tapped out. He reached the ropes. Charles Robinson got pushed by Jericho. In the end, Flair locked in his figure 4 leg lock onto Jericho. Before that, he low blowed him. Hit the figure 4 lock, applied the figure 4 leg lock on Jericho. Jericho tapped out. Flair got the victory. I think the reason why, you know, I think Jericho thinks, you know, Flair and Charles Robinson was in cahoots, because Flair and Robinson had a history in WCW when basically, you know, Charles Robinson became Little Nate. You know, fucking hell, that match with was it Gorgeous George at Slamboree '99? Go and check it out. Fucking terrible, but anyway, so it was nothing. It was a last build. I think it was a bonus match. No any build to this, because at the time Flair was a singles competitor, because he's no longer the, you know, they gave up the whole, you know, co-ownership between him and Vince McMahon. They now doing like GMs, you know. You had Bischoff, who's the Raw GM, Stephanie's the SmackDown GM. They're on the show, sharing a office room. Anyway, so yeah, it was a good match. I think that was Flair's last match as a babyface before he was allied himself with Triple H, and then they formed Evolution, and the rest is history. The next match, we got Edge taking on Eddie Guerrero. The other two stars of the SmackDown 6. The SmackDown 6. Eddie basically got traded. He came from Raw because he came back early this year in 2002 because the previous year he got suspended, or actually got fired for, I think it was a DOA and substance abuse. He kind of cleaned himself up, ended up wrestling in the Indies. You know, he came back as a heel, aligned himself with his fellow or former Radicals teammate Chris Benoit. We'll get to Chris Benoit's match later on in this review. So the match was good. Another good match, you know. By the way, there is no bad match on the show. No bad matches. We'll get to my final ratings of SummerSlam 2002 at the end of this review. Anyway, the match between Edge and Eddie was good. The whole bulk of the match, you know, you had basically Eddie working on the injured shoulder of Edge. I think Michael Cole brought that Edge injured his shoulder in a match against Kurt Angle in a steel cage. You had Eddie working on the injured shoulder Edge. Like at one moment of the match, he locked was it a Fujiwara armbar or just a pattern armbar onto Edge. Like I think one moment of the match, Eddie hit the frog splash onto the injured shoulder of Edge. Edge was kind of like selling his shoulder and sometimes not selling it, but it's just typical sometimes in professional wrestling. Like someone can sell a body part and sometimes not selling the body part. I don't want to get into it. So yeah, the match was really good. A lot of near falls. Really, it was fast paced, mixture of physical stuff. In the end, Edge hit the spear onto Eddie Guerrero for the win. You could tell, like, both can be future Hall of Famers and future world champions in the next few years, And you could tell, like, Edge, this is his second year as a single star, because the previous year he's breaking away from teaming up with Edge and Christian. They broke up Edge and Christian during the Invasion storyline in the autumn of 2001. This is his first full year as a single star. Knowing that this dude's going to be, I think they bring out like he's the face of SmackDown, and they're kind of right. He ended up becoming like a star in the company, carried the rest of the Ruthless Aggression era Edge, throughout the rest of the 2000s, becoming a multiple time world champion. So that's match number 3. Match number 4. This is for the WWE Tag Team Championships. We got the Un-Americans. That's Lance Storm and Christian. I'll get to their gimmicks shortly. They defended the titles against Goldust and Booker T. They're really awesome. Booker T and Goldust. It's funny. I don't want to talk about it. Go and watch. Just type in Booker T and Goldust. It's really funny. Good chemistry. One of the best successful head cheese tag teams in professional wrestling history. The reason why I use the phrase head cheese, basically you got two guys with random gimmicks pairing up as a tag team. I say this tag team with Goldust and Booker T and Daniel Bryan Kane, Team Hell No, a decade later, But anyway, so the Un-Americans, instead of their pro-Canadians or uber-Canadians, like, great example, the Hart Foundation in 1997, but they're basically anti-Americans. Instead of waving the Canadian flag, it's a shame they've never done like a Team Canada in WWE. I know they did a Team Canada faction in TNA and WCW, but instead of waving the Canadian flag, they're basically waving the American flag upside down. Really, I don't say that tag team or that group was a crap faction. It was very underrated. They got heat. They got like that Muhammad Hassan heat because they're basically talking shit towards the American people. Anyway, so the match between Christian and Lance Storm versus Booker T and Goldust for the WWE Tag Team Championships. I think it's the last pay-per-view there, just called the WWE Tag Team Championships. I'll get to that a little bit later on after this match I'm talking about right now. Match is good. I really enjoy it. The fans are really into it. They're trying USA. They just want to see Goldust and Booker T win the tag team titles. By the way, they defeat Edge and Hulk Hogan on an episode of SmackDown to win the tag team titles. Because at the time, it was still the start of the first brand split. They were having one tag team titles. I'll get to that also a little bit later on for more information. So anyway, so the match was really good. Yeah, the whole bulk of the match, you had Storm and Christian working on Goldust. Nick Patrick was the referee, stopping Booker T. You didn't see the hot tag. Booker T got the hot tag, working on, I think it was Christian or Lance Storm. And before that, there was a referee. It was a referee distraction. Storm and Christian trying to hit Goldust with the Concerto. Goldust got out of the way, and both hit each other with chairs. To set up the hot tag. In the end, Test came out of nowhere, hit the big boot on Booker T, and Storm and Christian won this match and retained the tag team titles. You can tell the fans were really getting hot about this match. Wasn't anything fantastic, but it was an entertaining match. Like I said, the consistency of this card on the show was getting good to great. This was still good, really entertaining. I'll get to more of the Un-Americans later on. because Test was in a match with the Undertaker. We'll get to Test match later on. I think for the tag team titles, this is the last time. I think it's the last pay per view they just had the one tag team titles, because I think at Unforgiven the following month, the SmackDown started to create their own tag team title belts. This is before they end up. This is like 14 years before they end up doing the SmackDown Tag Team Championships. They call it the WWE Tag Team Championships. I think back then, right now it's the Raw Tag Team Championships and the SmackDown Tag Team Championship. Right now it's the Undisputed Tag Team Championships. Back then in the first brand split, it was the World Tag Team Championships. Because the WWE Tag Team Championship will be rebranded as the World Tag Team Championships on the Raw brand. On the SmackDown brand, you got the WWE Tag Team Championships. That was won in the tournament by Chris Benoit and Kurt Angle. So match number 5, this is for the Intercontinental Championship. Chris Benoit defending the title against RVD, defeat RVD on an episode of, it was the July 29th, the 29th of July's episode of Monday Night Raw. Match was good. It was a bit slow at times because both styles, are different. RVD is the high flyer. Chris Benoit, he doesn't do a lot of high flying spots. He's a technical style wrestler. Not on the same level as the opener between Angle and Rey Mysterio, but still a good match, try to keep it short and simple, I think sometimes in the match you had Benoit trying to lock in the, by the way, Benoit is on the SmackDown brand because he was on Raw, and he's on SmackDown, took the Intercontinental title with him. At the time there were one mid-card title. I'll get to that shortly after I talk about this match. So the match was really good. You had some portion of the match. You had Benoit trying to lock in the crossface on RVD. RVD he did his version of the triple crossface. That was a bit crappy. I really enjoyed this match, back and forth between RVD and Chris Benoit. In the end, Benoit was going for the suplex. RVD countered it, hit the frog splash for the win, and RVD win back the Intercontinental title, took the IC titles back on the Raw brand, and because at the time there was only had one mid-card title belt, because at this moment in time the European and Hardcore title was retired. I don't understand why. RVD was the last European and Hardcore champion in the company's history. It's a shame they never bring back the title. The European title and the Hardcore title. Yeah, I hate that 24/7 belt. It's shit. It's a shame they never bring back the European title. I wish they brought it and put it in the NXT UK brand, because they need a mid-card title something to fight for, instead of like all the male wrestlers trying to fight for the UK title. But anyway, so the following year, SmackDown bring back the United States title, the United Flags version of the United States title, not the current United States title belt design you see right now. That's okay. I like the original design with the American flag. I still got the original design title belt with me, not right now, but still in my house. But it was a good match. So moving on to match number 5. Match number 6. This is a cooling off point. It wasn't a bad match. Like I said, there's no bad matches on the show, but this is the weakest match of the show. We got Test representing the Un-Americans taking on the Undertaker. The Undertaker is the American badass. He represents the United States of America. There was a video package of, it's pro-Americans. It's really trying to hype up this Un-Americans being like this threat. It's a shame. That group would never last long. They got that heat, that Muhammad Hassan heat. Not go away heat, but like this nuclear heat, because the Canadians, they hate America. Anyway, so the match is okay. No chemistry between Undertaker and Test. Test was okay-ish. He wasn't a great worker. I think Test is a little bit overrated. They tried to put the eggs on the Test basket over the years, but it didn't really pan out. They did it years later when he was part in the ECW title picture with Bobby Lashley. No luck. Anyway, the match was okay. Christian and Lance Storm trying to help Test get the victory. Undertaker fended him off. In the end, Test was going for trying to hit Undertaker with the chair. Taker just hit Test with the big boot while holding the chair, hit the Tombstone Power Driver, and then afterwards Undertaker grabbed someone's American flag, holding the American flag because he represented the USA. As for the un-American group, they added William Regal to the group to add some variety because the group was Canadian. You had Canadians, Christian's Canadian, Lance Storm's Canadian, Tess is Canadian, and he had William Regal to add the group to make it a proper un-American group. And he's because Regal's from England, way better than fucking the League of Nations was shit. It was just kind of thrown together with no reason. I get it, they're from other nations, but it was kind of stupid, and it's just like so forced. So anyway, the group never lasts long. Like I said, nuclear heat. I think there was sometimes they were teasing like the un-Americans like Taz, Christian, Storm, Regal. They're trying to set fire to the American flag, and I think the un-American group end up dropping the tag team titles to Kane and the Hurricane. The previous month in September, and then the group was I think it was disbanded in the autumn. Storm and Regal teamed still together as a tag team, and then in the start of 2003, Regal got hurt. I think he had an illness in the tour in India, and the Young Americans was officially no more. So, and let's talk about and by the way, back in the Intercontinental title picture, I'll talk about briefly. RVD was the IC champion, but 2 weeks later he ended up dropping the IC title to Chris Jericho. Bit of a trivia. So anyway, moving on to the next match. So this is technically the match of the night for me. We got Triple H taking on Shawn Michaels, the Heartbreak Kid, making his first pay-per-view match, his first wrestling pay-per-view match, his first wrestling match in 4 years. His last match was against Stone Cold Steve Austin for the WWF title at WrestleMania 14 in 1998. You know the story. Shawn Michaels retired due to a back injury, suffered a back injury in his match with The Undertaker at the 1998 Royal Rumble. I think it was a coffin match or a casket match. Taker hit Shawn with a back body drop. Shawn's back hit like the edge of the caskets, and that's the reason why he suffered a back injury. Didn't compete at that first No Way Out match, at that first No Way Out pay-per-view. Then he wrestled at WrestleMania 14, dropped the title to Stone Cold Steve Austin. Then Shawn spent 4 years not wrestling. He came back early of this year, not talking about this year in our current timeline, but this year in 2002, he came back, part of the NWO, when the NWO was no more because Kevin Nash got hurt. That WWE's version of the NWO was on its last legs. I think it was the Raw after Vengeance. You had Shawn Michaels basically teaming up with Triple H. They tease like they're gonna form D-Generation X because at this moment in time, China was gone from the company. Road Dogg was gone from the company. X-Pac was also gone from the company, and Billy Gunn's doing his own thing with Chuck. The gay gimmicks. Triple H kind of hits Shawn Michaels with a pedigree. Basically, he said, you used me, I used him. Then the build up to this, you had Shawn got attacked in a car park, and then they had this segment, a sit down interview between Triple H and Shawn Michaels. Not a sit down, Shawn Michaels was in the interview room in his hometown of San Antonio. Triple H was in Raw in Baltimore. They find out who is the attacker of Shawn Michaels. They kind of fresh out the footage, and it was the security footage, and Triple H was the culprit. He said and Shawn challenged Triple H to a match, and Triple H said what are you gonna do? Talk to death? He said you can't wrestle anymore. You're done. You're finished. HBK's dead. I think back then maybe you thought how Shawn's gonna perform. You thought after 1998, you thought you never thought Shawn Michaels was not gonna wrestle again. It reminds me of Edge, when he come back in 2019, come back at the Royal Rumble in 2020. You thought how he's gonna, after he retired in 2011, faking the world title. You thought Edge is done, proper done as a pro wrestler. Then, I did a rant on that Edge video when he decided the rumors that he's coming back. I don't want to see Edge. He said if he takes one more bump, he'll get he end up being hurt. Basically never he'll be completely severely paralyzed or dead. But recently in 2020, 21, and this year, he's doing what he changed up things. Trained his neck. He's having his best run in his career in years. So you don't know how Shawn's gonna perform. How I think Shawn end up changing things. He's not gonna be like the same HBK from the 90s. Anyway, I think this is an on-sanction match. Basically he can do it. Triple H can do anything without any repercussions. But anyway, so everyone knows the story that Triple H and Shawn Michaels, when they were feuding, were still friends. The friends in real life back then. On screen they were enemies. I think this is one of the best rivalries in the Ruthless Aggression era. Anyway, so the match is good, really good. The whole bulk of the match. And by the way, I think it was Triple H's first match without the beard. He ended up shaving off the beard. I think it's the first time since the late 90s. He ended up growing the beard when he was broke away from D-Generation X in 1999, and he ended up shaving the beard. He ended up growing back, in 2004. In 2002-2003 period, Triple H wrestled without the beard. He ended up shaving it in that Chaperone movie in 2011. So that was the last time he ended up without a beard. Anyway, the match was really good. The bulk of the match, you had Triple H, working on the back of Shawn Michaels, whipping him with with his belt. He was wearing jeans, street clothes instead of his traditional heart tights. You had working on the back. I think he hit a backbreaker onto the still blue chair. That was a thing in 2002 instead of the traditional black one you see today. You had this funny confrontation between Triple H and Earl Hebner, because Triple H kind of locked Shawn with the Downable Crab, and while holding the ropes, and then basically both Triple H and Earl Hebner had an argument. They're both pushing each other, and then Hebner's shouting at Triple H. He's backing Triple H on a corner. That was kind of funny. I was laughing my ass off. Because I never saw this show before. I heard good things about this show and this match. And also, Triple H has many feuds over the years against wrestlers. He had a feud against Austin, The Rock, Shawn Michaels, Batista, Orton, Jericho, Undertaker, Brock, and also Earl Hebner, including Mankind. Earl Hebner is probably one of his biggest feuds he had in his career, because he end up pushing each other. They end up arguing, both Hebner and Triple H, throughout the years. Well, they're basically getting each other, they get a lot of shit, giving each other some shit. That's kind of funny. You don't see referees today, getting in the heel's face. You don't do that. You never see that. They're just basically just playing him. You don't Earl Hebner's the one. If you push him, he push you back, shouting. You don't get that. Anyway, so Shawn was bleeding. Triple H was bleeding. You had this spot with the Shawn put and also when Shawn did the kick up, the fans went ape shit. And Shawn got his comeback. Hit Triple H with the chair, whipping him with the belt, put him through a table. I think they used a trash can. In the end, Triple H was going for the pedigree, but Shawn countered with a roll-up for the victory, and afterwards Triple H basically obliterates Helmsley. My apology. He obliterates Shawn with the sledgehammer, hitting him twice with the sledgehammer. It's basically rinsing him off. It's a good heel heat, because reality, Shawn was not wrestling full-time at this time. He was wrestling in a part-time schedule. He ended up wrestling full-time for the rest of his run until he retired again in 2010 in his match with The Undertaker, and then he wrestled one more time in 2018 in that match in Saudi Arabia between the Undertaker, Kane, the Brothers of Destruction taking on DX. But back then he was wrestling on a part-time schedule. He was managing the NWO, then his match with Triple H. He came back at Survivor Series in MSG. later that year, and Shawn, beat Triple H in the first ever Elimination Chamber match for the world title. I'll get to Survivor Series 2002 in November of this year because because this November marks the 20th anniversary of that show. But anyway, this was the first of many matches in the Ruthless Aggression era between Shawn Michaels and Triple H. They fought at Survivor Series, Armageddon 2002 in the three-stage Hell match. They fought at the Royal Rumble in 2004 in the Last Man Standing match. They fought at Bad Blood 04 Hell in a Cell match. And the final match in the rivalry was at Taboo Tuesday in 2004. And that was technically their final match of that rivalry before they reunited again. Did the DX reunion in 2006 to feud with McMahon's. Another story for another time. Yeah, this is a match of the night for me. So we'll get to the segments before we get to the main event. So you had a segment at the World that used to be called the WWF Square or WWE Times, whatever. They call it the World. You had Nydia, who was at the time teaming up with Jimmy Noble, doing the whole trailer park couple. You had making out with some random guy, and then you got this crap segment. It's between Trish Stratus and Howard Finkel. Trish apologized to Howard Finkel about pushing him, slapping him, pushing him in the pool of mud. Jesus Christ, hate this. Doing these segments on pay-per-views just never worked. Save it on a weekly wrestling TV show, not on a pay-per-view that people spending a lot of money at the time. Yeah, Howard, said about, this is a doggy dog world. You got your puppies, referring to Trish's tits, she is beautiful, Trish Stratus. She never aged a bit. She's in her 40s. She's still attractive. He said, yeah, you with your puppies, me with my wiener. What the fuck? I get it's Ruthless Aggression era. They're pushing the envelope, but he end up hugging, and also he's putting himself over because this is the first time he ring announced at the Nassau Coliseum since WrestleMania 2. That was way back in 1986. Anyway, so Trish and the Fink, hug. Then you got Lillian Garcia attack Howard Finkel. I think they were feuding at the time over ring announcer duties. Yeah, it's a shame the Fink is no longer with us. I don't know how he died. I think he died of COVID. I don't know. He died 2 years ago, by the way. The Fink and Lillian Garcia, two best ring announcers of all time. One's in the Hall of Fame. I don't know Lillian Garcia's in the Hall of Fame. She needs to be in the Hall of Fame soon. Anyway, so I don't understand why they did this, I think Trish was the women's champion, and she's not booked on the show. No. By the way, you had 3 title matches on the show. The Tag Team Championship match, the Intercontinental Championship match, and the Undisputed Championship match. The women's title was the only... actually, the Cruiserweight title was not on the line as well, but the women's title, there was no women's match on the show. What? I understand why. Just put her in a match, Doing this, like I said, doing this segment's come off like a weekly wrestling TV show. I don't understand why, because wrestling pay-per-views are designed for the live action reel. I don't get it, man. So let's move on to the main event. So the main event, this is for the undisputed WWE Championship. We got The Rock defending the belt against Brock Lesnar with Paul Heyman in his corner. Brock won the 2002 King of the Ring tournament at the final King of the Ring pay-per-view against RVD. Go and check out my review of 2002's King of the Ring pay-per-view. I review. The Rock won the WWE, or the undisputed WWE Championship in a triple threat match against Undertaker and Kurt Angle at Vengeance. So set up Rock versus Brock. They showcase a lot of showing the training montage, showing the sport athlete side of the pro wrestler. That was cool. I watched a customized video package of this this video package of Rock versus Brock at SummerSlam 02. Someone put Hearts on Fire. That was from Rocky IV, when Rocky fought the Russian boxer Ivan Drago. You had Rock running on the into the stadium stairs. He was running. They're both doing power cleans. I really like that. You don't get that. You never seen that. You never get that ever again. Like in a video package of two guys training, preparing for the stakes of this match. It's for the prestigious championship in sports entertainment. I hate to use that clearly, but the match between Rock versus Brock. This is a good match. Not a great one. This was a good match. Like I said, they're showing the athleticism side of a pro wrestler. You had Brock in an ice bath. It's just like holding a log, running in a motorway. You don't get that ever again. You get some video package of wrestlers training, but you never get that ever again. Like showing the athleticism, sportism. I use the word sportism. Of a pro wrestler. So anyway, let's talk about this match. The match, like I said, good. The fans were booing The Rock. I think it has to do with after this match, he ended up like going back off the on the roads, because he's doing, he's pursuing a career in movies. He did like the Scorpion King, Jesus Christ. He got better in years to come, But anyway, we're booing The Rock. It has to do one thing, like I said. Maybe, after that he's end up going back doing movies. I think it has to do, his character was getting stale. That's the reason why the fans were booing The Rock. It's not in Canada, because he got booed early that year at WrestleMania 18 in his match with Hulk Hogan, because it's Bizarro World in Canada. But this, I think the fans were booing The Rock because his character was stale. The best thing for him is turning heel, doing the whole Hollywood Rock gimmick that got over in 2003, and also in the build up to this, Brock injuring Hulk Hogan. He had a match with Hulk Hogan, locking him with the bear hug. It's the way to run off Hulk Hogan. He ended up coming back in the start of 2003, feuding with Vince McMahon and Mr. America. Jesus Christ, don't want to get into it. So match was good. My only nitpick about this match is Paul Heyman. He got involved. Heyman don't get involved a lot, He got involved in his match against The Rock, and then, one more of the match, he had Rock put Heyman through the announce table with the Rock bottom. Heyman said, "Oh shit!" I kind of laughed my ass off, but besides that, I really enjoy it. Showing the athleticism of Brock, he's better than his current run. He's just doing suplex, F5s. Back then, we showing the athleticism side of Brock Lesnar. He's a former amateur wrestler. Rock, both got two sporting backgrounds. The Rock used to be an American football player. Brock used to be sorry about that. The voice you just hear in the background just right now, it's one of my friends. She's a woman, by the way. She was just staying for a weekend. She went to that gay pride yesterday. Anyway. So, like I said before I got interrupted, The Rock used to be an American football player. Brock Lesnar used to be a former amateur professional wrestler. Then he ended up pursuing a career in the NFL with the Minnesota Vikings with no success. And he ended up pursuing a career in MMA with the UFC with some success. I think Brock and Rock's style kind of click and gel. That's not saying too much, I like this version of Brock Lesnar. I don't like the Brock Lesnar from right now doing, like I said, suplex, and F5s. I like the technical style of Brock Lesnar. He's a good worker. He's a little bit green, but he's not completely shit. Anyway, so let's talk about the rest of this match. So, The Rock hit Brock Lesnar with the Rock bottom. Lesnar kicked out. Then The Rock was going for the people's elbow. Lesnar clotheslined The Rock's head off. That was a ferocious clothesline. Then Lesnar hit The Rock with his own version of the Rock bottom. Rock kicked out. There was a counter between the F5 and the Rock bottom. In the end, Lesnar hit the F5 onto The Rock. I think it was the only time that Brock hit The Rock with the F5 to pin him and become the undisputed WWE champion for the first time. First of 7 title reigns for the next 20 years. His last one was way back of this year in 2022 in the Elimination Chamber match at Elimination Chamber 2022. And I think Brock became the youngest champion in the history of the WWE. That's before 2 years later they end up being broken by Randy Orton, because Randy is way younger than Lesnar. He beat Benoit for the world title at SummerSlam 2 years later, become the youngest world champion at the age of 24, because at the time Brock left on very bad terms. And I'll review SummerSlam 2004 in the future, but yeah, it was a good way to pull the trigger on Brock Lesnar, because Brock was so red hot. You thought it's gonna be, it's Vince McMahon's wet dream, because Vince always pushes guys that look like bodybuilders. Brock, in his 20s looks like he's super jacked. Right now he's not. He lost a lot of size, but he was a little bit fatter, chubby. But back then he's on the fucking roids. But besides that, the athleticism, the speed, the strength of Brock Lesnar is like ferocious. This was The Rock's last title reign for 11 years, because he ended up 9 years. I think it was 9 years. He ended up winning the WWE title in 2013 against CM Punk at the 2013 Royal Rumble pay-per-view, and then he ended up dropping to John Cena at WrestleMania 29 in that same year. But Rock ended up leaving. He ended up going back on the roads, filming movies, come back to the company in the start of 2003, end up doing the Hollywood Rock gimmick. That was really good. Man, it was good. I think they did the right call to have Brock winning the title, and I think this show was the last time they call the WWE Championship the Undisputed Championship, because Brock ended up going to SmackDown, and then Bischoff awarded Triple H the World Heavyweight Championship, kicking off the brand split with 2 world titles, until they unified both the WWE and World title belts in TLC in 2013, did the WWE World Heavyweight Championship for a bit between 13 to 2016 before the start of the second brand split, and then introduced the Universal title belt. So, like I said, it kicked off the reign of terror of Triple H. We'll get to those pay-per-views in the future, so yeah, it's a good way to have Brock winning the title. So it wasn't a 4-star classic. It ain't gonna be an instant classic, but besides that, they both can work. You don't need to do fancy moves. They're both athletic. They're very good in the ring, and they end the show on a high. So anyway, my final rating for SummerSlam 2002, the first SummerSlam under the WWE banner, I give it a 10 out of 10. When people say this is the greatest SummerSlam of all time, believe them. Just believe them. This is really good. It started well with Kurt Angle versus Rey Mysterio, and ended well with Brock versus Rock for the Undisputed WWE Championship. So nothing in the bad, no bad matches on this show. The only thing in the bad for me has to be this segment between Howard Finkel, Trish Stratus, and Lillian Garcia. The OK had Undertaker versus Taz. It was an okay match, but the good is the good. Kurt Angle versus Rey Mysterio, Edge versus Eddie, Benoit versus RVD for the Intercontinental Championship, the tag team title match between Un-Americans versus Booker T and Goldust, and the match of the night for me has to be Shawn Michaels versus Triple H in a non-sanction match, and the main event between Rock versus Brock for the Undisputed WWE Championship. I suggest watching this show. So anyway, hope you enjoyed my review of WWE Summerslam 2002. Leave your thoughts in the comment section below. Smash the like button. Click the like, click the bell. Subscribe to the Central Man Network on YouTube for more wrestling videos and more. Next time, I'm taking a break from doing pay-per-view reviews, because I'm on holiday. When I do come back, we're staying in the 2000s in the WWE. We're going to travel 1 year into the future, 1 year after SummerSlam 2003. Recently, I reviewed WCW Bash at the Beach 1998. That took place 1 week after Goldberg won the WCW World Heavyweight Championship. So, sticking about the Goldberg topic, we're going to talk about Goldberg in the next pay-per-view. This is 5 years later in the year 2003. Goldberg's in the WWE. 1 month after SummerSlam. And we're in the middle of the Triple H Reign of Terror. Holy crap. So, too little too late. Goldberg wins the world titles, facing the Game on that show. And also on that same show, we got a McMahon versus a Monster. And also the battle of two guys fighting over the Raw commentary booth. You know what I'm talking about? That is Unforgiven 2003. This is the Central Man officially signing out. And that's my review of SummerSlam 2002. I give this 2 thumbs up.